Hello, 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 and welcome to season 6 of the Powerhouse Woman Show. Yay, yay. So happy that you've joined us. What we did from day one was create an environment and a space where powerhouse women can get together with us, be on the show, and talk about their journey, their life lessons, the good stuff, the stuff that wasn't so pretty, the things that they actually figured out. So, thank you for hanging with us for 6 seasons. And we're going to start off season 6 with a topic where we're going to have to maybe not be in our feelings so much, but just look at things very, very honestly and critically. In particular, we're going to talk about the imposter syndrome and ditching it. We're joined by the one and only Coach Danny D, who is our Walk with Ease coach. And congratulations, you're also a podcaster. You have Profits in Pajamas podcast. You just launched season 3 of your podcast. So, congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Monica. And thank you for having me here. And congratulations on 6 excellent seasons.
Oh, thank you. So excited about season 6. We're going to get into it. One of the things we want to talk about, particularly this time of year, is imposter syndrome and ditching imposter syndrome. And Coach Danny D, you have talked about this, you have challenges, and you work with people on this. Why why can't we get it together? What is going on and why are we still continuing to battle it, or are we talking about it more?
I think a little of both. I think we are talking about it more, but I also think it the reason why we continue to battle it is because we've never fully addressed it. So we know that we feel a certain way. We don't feel comfortable saying it out loud. We may say it to a good friend or something like that, but mostly we don't want to identify with it. We don't want to say that we have imposter syndrome, that maybe we lack confidence in certain areas. We're just, very shy about that. And I think as long as we don't address it head on, it's going to continue to pop up and it's going to continue to hinder us as we grow.
And how does it show up, or how can it show up, particularly for powerhouse women, particularly for high achieving, those A++ women out there who, when either they say it or you pick it up, that they're not feeling their magic right about now?
I think that it's funny. So I talk about like the two main ways that it shows up, and for us high achievers, it shows up as us hiding in plain sight. So we are checking boxes, we're doing things, but we all know that there is something bigger, greater that we are shying away from. But as long as we're doing the other things that everybody's giving us accolades for, we can kind of, sit back and we push that passion work or that big project that's going to make us have to be vulnerable or be seen making mistakes publicly. Those are the things that we kind of shy away from, and we just keep moving, and people see that resume and they're like, oh, she's killing it, but they don't know that we have this other thing in our head that we are so terrified to pursue.
One of the things you talk about, internal imposter syndrome and external imposter syndrome. How do they show up differently?
So we know all of the ways to show up externally confident, right? We know how to show up, and the makeup, the outfit, the power stance. We know how to do all of those things to appear confident. And a lot of times when I talk about confidence, that's the things that people will lean to. Well, I'm confident. I'm confident. I don't have that issue. But it's that voice inside of us, that internal feeling of self-doubt, because we can dress the part, we can look immaculate, we can, carry ourselves in a certain way, but inside we are sitting there thinking, I don't belong here, or I hope that they don't see whatever the shortcoming that we think that we have, or these ladies don't really accept me in this group. We're having all of that conversation of self-doubt, and we are just, like people say, fake it till you make it. And I think that that's like the most trash advice ever, because
Yes.
that's what gets us to feel imposter syndrome. We're pretending to be something. We have to get in touch with who we are. because a lot of times I meet women and I'm like, oh my God, like you are killing it. You are such a great talent, but they're not seeing that. And so because of that, we just keep falling back instead of pushing forward. So we have to quiet that voice within that is telling us the wrong things.
Right. And how do we begin to say, shh, hush to that voice? I hear you, but hush.
But yes, be quiet, girl. You're not in charge here. Um, the first part of that is really identifying where that voice is coming from, what that voice is saying to us. Because we'll say, I have self doubt, but we won't name it. And you have to name it to shame it to, deal with it. We won't say, I feel like I don't have enough education. I feel like, these other ladies have more money or they come from a different background than I do. I feel out of place maybe because I'm the only black female in a space. Until we address what the thing we're uncomfortable with, we can't start to dismantle it.
Right. And I want people to know that before we end this beautiful conversation with Coach Danny D, you have a challenge that's called, capable and confident challenge. So we definitely want to give people that information. So I do want you all to hang with us to make sure that you get that. You touched upon something that triggered something within me is the comparison trap, because it's not jealousy, but it just, in my opinion, but it just, it's like there's always going to be someone who has one more extra PhD, someone who's written one more book, someone who has a book, someone who has a podcast that's been now 3 years for you. How do you begin to address that comparison trap? Because it is a trap.
Oh, it's definitely a trap. I like to remind my clients that you are comparing your whole self to someone else's highlight reel. That other person is experiencing, feeling some of those same things. So you may be sitting next to someone who you are feeling, inadequate because you're comparing, and they feel the same way about you. But since we don't talk about this often, we don't realize that we're all grappling with it. It's hard sometimes not to compare. And what I recommend is when you are in a space that you feel like you're getting in that comparison trap, pull back, pull back. People, find this controversial. I will unfollow someone. And it's not because that person did anything wrong. It's not because of ill will. But if I'm working on a particular project and someone else is working on a similar project, like I did a summit recently and another person was doing a similar topic to mine. I didn't listen to hers until after I had presented mine, not because of, anything other than I didn't want to get inside of my own head and disrupt what I needed to show up and do. And it's not a negative to just pull back, honor how you're feeling. You know that it is affecting you. Pull back and take a break, isolate yourself, go back to the drawing board as far as your confidence, and then come back out when you know that this is not going to negatively affect me.
Right. Because again, that voice is going to say, and I particularly when I know you go to a lot of, I won't say a lot, but networking events. And when people stand up and say what they're doing and how, their company that they started, you go like, oh, okay. I used to experience that when I go to a speakers, association meeting, and I'm going, I don't know yet what my ideal talk is. I'm trying to figure it out as I go along. So it's amazing advice. So I really want to get to the whole idea of worthiness. And you talk about worth dysmorphia. Number one, what is it? Number two, how does it show up? And number three, why should we care? How is it impacting us?
Okay, so worth dysmorphia is a term that I'm going to say I made up. I don't know if it is an actual term, but it came to me one day because I was thinking about body dysmorphia and how that's, there's that parallel. So body dysmorphia is when people look in the mirror and they are seeing themselves physically totally distorted from what they look like in reality. And, that's, it kind of fuels, eating disorders and things like that. The same thing is true of worth. So we see ourselves in this one way, and then if you ask, the five closest people to you to describe you, they're describing the wonderfulness of you, the impact that you have, and all of these things, and you're still not seeing it, not hearing it, not able to digest it. So you're seeing yourself like this small, and everyone else around you sees you as this huge thing. And so that's where we have to work with retraining our brain to start receiving those compliments, to start internalizing those compliments, because we internalize mistakes,
Right.
but we don't give the fair balance to our success and all of the great things that we're doing.
Wow. Well, we're going to get to the challenge and what you have planned for 2025. You are a work with ease coach. You focus on success. A couple of things. Let's talk a little bit about what you have coming up, particularly as it relates to your business incubator for 2025.
So I decided to do a business incubator, and the reason that I decided to do that is I'm seeing where the economy is going, and people are getting a little tighter with their purses, and I see that, I work with a lot of creatives, a lot of business owners, and even in this past year, as things got a little bit tighter, I went back to basics to make sure I was still bringing in that revenue, making sure that I was still hitting my marks. But a lot of people may have never done that as far as building their business. So in the incubator, we're going to do two things at one time. So one of the things is going to be building that foundation or correcting the foundation if it's already there, but it's a little shaky. So let's repair the foundation. But then we're also going to be doing revenue growth challenges. So looking for opportunities in your industry and then actively going after them, because that's what we're going to have to do to build that business back up, get that revenue where it is, and make it sustainable through however long we're going to be dealing with the economy and the changes that we're dealing with right now.
Right, right. Because everybody talks about the economy, but they never really say what this is or what the impact is for them. But going back to the basics, I think is just amazing, whether you've done it before or haven't done it. Even athletic teams, when they're in a slump or when they're not doing well, when their stats aren't there, they go back to the fundamentals. They go back to the
Yes.
basics as well. How can people find out about the business incubator?
They can go to own your business own your business incubator.com, and they can sign up for that. They can also go to coachdannid.com, and the information will be there as well.
Okay, great. So that's wonderful for those of you who really need this. And now is the time not to pull back on what you need, just really be that, discerning about what it is as well. So we mentioned earlier that you have another challenge coming up, and that's exciting, where it's going to have people look at their capabilities and their confidence. Tell us about the Capable and Confident Challenge.
So the Capable Confident Challenge is one of my favorite programs that I run, and it will be starting on January 15th, the next round of it. Basically, we all of the stuff that we talked about with imposter syndrome, worthiness, we do a deep dive into that, and so that you can understand where is this coming from, build up your confidence arsenal so that you are now walking in your confidence. And then the final stage of that is maintenance. So what are the tools that you need to combat when it comes back around again? Because no matter how much we work on it, we can get to a new point. But every time something new happens and we have to expand ourselves, we're going to have that little voice try to creep back in. So that maintenance piece is crucial to get her to just be quiet.
And I took the challenge, everybody. So I know what I'm talking about when I tell you, before you start saying, I'm confident, I don't have a problem, there's something going on. There's a little shadow work that's going on. There's a little whispering that you're listening to. So I highly recommend that you take the Capable and Confident Challenge, because because you're going to the next level anyway.
Right.
New level, some say new devil, but there's going to be,
Yes, yes.
yeah, right?
No,
There's
it's
going to,
absolutely true. Like, you reach a new level and then you're like, "Oh, I don't know." And you need to be able to step in and not feel that fear, not feel like, everything has to, go this certain way, or you feel uncomfortable. Mistakes happen in life, and the more confident you are, the better you can navigate and bring things back to right.
right. Particularly, let's just say your example, you're a consultant or a coach, and you know you can't have 2 year ago prices in 2025. But then you start to say, well, people are going to start thinking, I think I'm too much, or they can't afford it, everybody's purse, that type of thing. So those are some, what happens when you do the challenge, you start to identify how it's making its way into your mind. And then you focus on success. I just love how we do, the activity of how were you successful today,
Right. I
and
I
what did
love
happen.
that. Like, people think it has to be this big huge thing. It really really doesn't. I can say I was successful today because I set up everything to do this by myself, because my husband went into work, and he normally does this for me. So that was a success today. I had an early morning delivery and I woke up early, and everybody knows I'm not a morning person. So that was a success. It doesn't have to be huge, but success breeds success. So when you start to train your mind in that way, watch out. You're gonna start like just seeing it everywhere. You're gonna, really change over. It's kind of like, when you see, if you make a mistake, you feel like you just keep making mistake after mistake. The same is true of success. And that's a much better thing to focus on.
So 2025 seems to be starting off really fast paced for you. You have the business incubator, capable and confident challenge. What are your thoughts about this year? Or do you think in that way? Or do you look at it moment by moment and then we'll see what happens, 6 months from now, 8 months from now, 12 months from now?
So somewhere in the middle.
Hmm.
So I like to have a big overview of where I want to go, but I always leave space for God, because sometimes, when we close off, we miss that part of he had a bigger vision than what we had. And I mean, I can just say, even at toward the end of the year, I set these certain goals and I was like, I want to do this, this, and this. And one of them was appearing on more podcasts. And I think I did, like, I want to say like 10 to 15 podcast interviews in the last quarter of the year. So my number wasn't that, but
Right.
that was God's number. So I do have a rough idea and the little steps that I need to do to get there, but I try not to be rigid.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, we got, yes, absolutely, Dr. Briscoe. Train your mind. Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. We are unfortunately out of time. So to follow Coach Danny D, our Work with Ease coach goes on Instagram and Facebook at Your Workflow. And of course, CoachDannyD.com. Coach Danny D, it's always a privilege and a pleasure to have you on the Powerhouse Woman Show. Thank you for being an amazing person who, now let me tell you, when you do these incubators and these sessions, she does not play. Okay, she does not play. Don't mistake the quiet moments where she's not saying something, because when she does, yes, it's something you need to hear. She'll step on your toes, all 9 to 10 of them. So just warning you.
With love. With
With
love.
love. I never said it was not with love, but it will happen. Because I'm also listening to your podcast and going, I need to pull over because all of my toes are hurting because she just stepped on them. But that's okay. That's okay. Thanks for being with us. Hold on. Okay. The one and only Coach Danny D. Thank you for joining us on the Powerhouse Woman Show as we kick off season 6. So excited. And one of the things that you most likely put on the list you wanted to make space for was to become a more impactful storyteller. Use your story more and get your message out of there. We're kicking off very, very soon the Story Maker Academy. We have space for 1 or 2 more in the cohort. So go to storymaker powerhouse.com for more information. And we'll talk to you next time on the Powerhouse Woman Show.